But I wanted to start with the Sunday night game. And first and foremost, before I knew what the result was going to be, probably with 10 minutes left in the game, clearly Lamar did not play well in the first half. He was really struggling, as he has before against the Kansas City Chiefs. Throwing a couple picks, didn't look that great. His team was kind of in shambles, right? They have a million injuries. You just start thinking, are they going to start not just 0-2, but headed for a 7-win season? And if you've been listening to me for a while, and I know we have a lot of new listeners, I didn't like Lamar coming out. He was not my style of quarterback. I didn't think he was accurate, and I'm always very hesitant with running quarterbacks, and he's a run-first quarterback, that they're going to get hurt, that they play kind of reckless, and he still does. But I discounted this, and if you've been listening to me for a while, I've come around. I bought one of his shirts, sweatshirts. No one cares. Work harder. It's actually my favorite sweatshirt I own. I wear it like once a week. And I love whenever I see Lamar talk after wins or losses, he has won me over. Because at the end of the day in pro sports, you got to have talent. And clearly Lamar has immense talent. Most guys in the NFL, especially high draft picks, have a lot of talent. What determines your success or failures is your mindset, is your willingness, and your competitive character. Your competitive character. Lamar Jackson's competitive character, and when I say that, I don't mean whether you win or lose. I just say how willing you are to be relentless, whether things are going good or bad, in terms of your effort. And whenever I watch Lamar down, up, he's playing his ass off. He did last week. He did it again today. His competitiveness is elite. It is fantastic. So when you go, what are you going to pay Lamar? Are you going to be willing to give him all this money? Like at this point, what are you going to do? Not pay the guy? He's a much better thrower than we ever thought he would be. That's not up for debate. Is he ever going to be Mahomes, Rodgers, or Russell Wilson? Probably not. But he is he's dramatically improved since he's been in the league. And ultimately, the NFL is about getting better. It's about improving. Mahomes has improved. Lamar keeps improving. The only question mark I would have, because I think his competitiveness is up there with any guy in the league. And you watch that game tonight, you have some of the most elite competitors in the entire NFL in Mahomes and Kelsey, right? And Lamar can match their competitiveness, which is rare. Not many. That's Brady. Like it's a short list of guys in the league, right? And he basically willed his team to a win. He tried to will his team last week when guys are dropping like flies, injuries everywhere. The mojo and the juju around the team is in shambles. Not with him. Not with his. There's just, as they call it in football and I think in sports, like multipliers. Do you uplift people around you? And it's essential at quarterback because everyone's looking at you in the huddle. All 10 other guys. And let's face it, really your whole team is. You are the star of the team. And I have nothing but respect for the player. I also have nothing but respect. Game was just awesome. I mean, how much fun was that game to watch those two players just entertain the hell out of us? I do have to hat tip. Now, he does this a lot, and he's kind of consistently done it for the last couple years, but it was a pretty big spot at the end of the game, 4th and 1, that easily could have punted. Now, I think if you punted to Patrick Mahomes in that offense, even though they have no timeouts, you could easily lose. And they were only down 1 point, so Butker has kicked long field goals. And as Lamar's walking to the sideline, John's walking at him going, what do you want to do, Lamar? So the head coach, who's an aggressive guy, is empowering his quarterback. And in a day and age, let's face it, a lot of coaches, even as we know the analytics now, and it's more conducive to win a game, to go for it, these 2-point conversions, a lot of guys still get scared. Because it's easy to act like a tough guy. It's easy to be like, if I would have had the opportunity. You hear that a lot, like after recessions, when guys like, if only I had $100,000, if I could have bought 3 homes in this one area, they'd all be worth, $500,000 a piece. Well, you didn't. The opportunity was there. You probably saw it, and you pussed out. It happens to a lot of us. It's a natural human reaction. It's easy to look back and go, God, I wish I would have. What do you do in the moment? Like, let's face it, something weird's going on right now economically. When the quote-unquote recession hits again, will you have the balls to pull the trigger that is coming up? So when you look back in 2025 and 2026 and 2027, everyone's going to go, well, I wish I would have done that. And you would have been the guy that goes, yeah, I did that. When this thing tanked, I bought it. So 10 years later, I'm not kicking myself. I should have done that. Oh, I wish I would have invested in that. Could have bought that home. I had the side cash. It went to nothing. Most of you won't. I'm not acting like I will either, but it's just something that we all see. And then we all talk about years later. And we see it a lot with coaches. God, I should have gone for it. I saw Mike Vrabel do it in the Seattle game, which was crazy because I didn't have that game on where I am at. I had the red zone and I had on the Chargers Cowboy game. And I mean, at one point in time, I just assumed Seattle was going to win like 40-10. All of a sudden I look up, the Tennessee's driving at the end of the game to send it to overtime. And then they score. Well, they didn't have to send it to overtime. They could have gone for 2. Now they ended up winning, but Vrabel just puts up the one finger. It's like, Mike, you're an old school tough guy. Like, what are you doing? You're on the road. You're not going to go for 2? And he'd go, well, it ended up working out. I would not want to get into a situation where it's just a coin flip. It's me versus Russell Wilson. That is not how John Harbaugh thinks. Hell, Andy, he's been very aggressive with Mahomes. That's not how he thinks anymore either. We've seen Belichick, who's been doing this for 2 decades, right? Remember in the mid-2000s when he went for it on 4th and 2 with Kevin Falk, didn't get it, and Peyton Manning ended up winning? He was really way ahead of his time. He played, as Herm Edwards would say, play to win the game. There's a difference between being reckless and being aggressive. And I love what John Harbaugh did going for, 4th and 1. You have, let's face it, Lamar Jackson, is he a $130 million quarterback, $140 million quarterback, $150 million quarterback? I don't know what his exact price is, right? We saw how much Dak got. We saw how much Josh Allen got. Like, I just know he's in that world. And really the only concern I have about Lamar the next 5 years, because I love the human, I love the competitor, I love the talent, I love that he's still improving. The only thing that gives me pause, and this is a big thing, is that when you play, reckless is the wrong word because he's very under control, but when you put yourself out there as a running back, which he turns into when he takes off, and really he's just an all-time playmaker, right? And I saw it firsthand when I worked for the Eagles with Michael Vick, and Lamar's a little bit like that. You put yourself in harm's way, and you're just going to end up, I feel like Michael Vick definitely takes more shots than Lamar, but Lamar takes his fair amount of shots. And eventually, those guys on the other side of the field, as David Culley actually told me once upon a time, who's running a pretty competitive Houston Texans, when I said, God, we're going to kill. I remember we were playing the Buffalo Bills. I just, I had worked in the league for like 5 months. I thought we had a pretty good squad. And, it was a couple games in, and I think it was the Buffalo Bills, might have been the Lions. It was just a really bad team. I'm like, we're going to kill these guys. As I'm dropping off, a piece of paper in his office. We were bullshitting. And he looked at me. He's like, bro, you can't talk like that. This is the NFL, man. Every week, you understand those guys on the other team, like, they drive really nice cars too. They live in big homes. I started thinking, I'm like, yeah, they kind of do. You watch the league throughout the week. You're like, these guys are, you could be playing the worst team. It's like whenever I hear the argument, we didn't want to throw Justin Fields against the Rams defensive line. We didn't want to put Trey Lance in a situation at the Lincoln Financial Field against the Eagles and their defensive linemen. Well, who do you want to put them against? Every team has multiple defensive linemen that at minimum are worth like 10, 12 million. A couple have 20 million guys. Others have ascending players. Every team, the worst teams, maybe not the Jags, but the majority, like you play the Texans, you don't think they can hit you really hard and knock you out of the game? So that is the one area with Lamar that would give me pause. But at this point in time, what are your other options? He is easily one of the best players in the league. He is an elite football player, and he's a damn good quarterback. But the thing with the quarterback, a couple years ago, he was like a really good quarterback. Then he's a damn good quarterback. Now he's like a star quarterback. He's just if he gets a little bit better as a passer and more consistent just as a drop back passer, he'll just be elite. He's headed that way because he just keeps improving. So the Ravens got an enormous win ultimately for the Chiefs. It sucks, but I think they'll be fine.